Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. Let me check my sound. Always check your mic. I'm laughing for something that has nothing to do with this video. So, sorry, just checking my volume. If you guys enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support through Patreon or Super Chat. This one is probably not going to be long, but I do want to read it. New York Times has done something good, and I want to give New York Times accolades for doing something good. They've set a blowtorch to Joe Crowley. I need to put these up. It's quite quick aside. My wife, she's working from home now, so both of us essentially have jobs at home. Now, in some cases, you'd imagine that people would not get along, or they would bump heads at a certain point. But my wife and I get along magnificently well. We've always got along magnificently well, even though we may bump heads sometimes just because we're being around each other too much. But that's always the case. But she is supposed to be in there working, and she's not in there working. And I've taken the batteries to the keyboard. If you were in there working, I wouldn't have been able to take the batteries to your keyboard. So, just between us, these are sitting here. So, this video may not necessarily be long because she's going to flip. She's not going to figure it out for a while, though. She should be there at her desk. Now, that being said, let's go back to the story. Joe Crowley. Joe Crowley was supposed to have a debate with OcasioCortez. Joe Crowley didn't have that debate. Instead of not having that debate, Joe Crowley tweeted pictures that he was several stops away, getting his dry cleaning or something like that, or eventually tweeting that he was in the area, but didn't show up to the debate saying he had a prior engagement, and instead sent a surrogate. Now, the thing is, they had one debate, and in that debate, she set fire to Crowley. She hit Crowley over and over and over again. It was remorseless. She was an animal. She just wouldn't get off of him, just scratching his eyes out, just punching him. It's like a cage match where you just beat the shit out of the other person. It's amazing. It's surprised that they allowed that to continue for the 30 minutes. She hit Crowley, and the only thing Crowley could say at a certain point was, I'm experienced. And I hate Donald Trump. The depths of my hatred for Donald Trump is unending. That's all he could say. She hit him on class. She hit him on this thing where he was overly focused on race. She hit him on failing, for the most part, of not even living in a state. She's even saying, I love the way she did this in this kind of really classy way of, oh, God damn it. In my head is bourgeois, but it's not bourgeois. She didn't say hola, but whatever, to get across her heritage. I can't remember the exact words, but to get across heritage without necessarily going fully into the race stuff. He brings up race. I put in a black person, I put in an Asian person, and she eviscerated him with, this has nothing to do with the races that you put into a particular class. In the particular spot. It has everything to do with class. The woman was amazing. I watched that debate, screaming like, yes! Yes! Hit him! It's like in a Roman arena at that point, just screaming, hit him! Hit him again! Loved it. So you can imagine, for the second debate, Crowley may either thought, I don't need to show up, because at the end of the day, I'm far enough ahead where she can't touch me, and I don't necessarily want to go through a beating like that in public again. That was completely humiliating. Or, I don't have to show up. Here's the thing. If he needed to show up to the debate, he would have shown up to the debate. In his head, I don't need to show up to the debate. And then to be a dick about it, sent a picture showing where he was. The New York Times, I did a video lighting into him because he sent the surrogate, and the surrogate, she should not have debated the surrogate. That's the first point. But that is so disrespectful. That is completely disrespectful. Now, I said that, and apparently the New York Times agreed with me, and the New York Times editorial board lit into Crowley for doing that. They lit into him. This is the article right here. I'm going to read through it relatively quickly. If you want to be speaker, Mr. Crowley, don't take voters for granted, which is what it boils down to. I'm just going to read it. When asking New Yorkers for their vote, most candidates would begin with showing up. Not Representative Joe Crowley. Mr. Crowley, a 10-term Democratic congressman who reportedly has ambitions on serving as House Speaker, chose to skip a debate Monday night with his primary challenger, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. He sent a surrogate instead, former city councilwoman Annabelle Palmer. This is the second primary debate in which Mr. Crowley was a no-show. A spokeswoman for Mr. Crowley said he had scheduling conflicts that wouldn't allow him to attend 2 debates, inevitably leaving voters to wonder, what are we, chopped liver? To him, yeah, you are. To him, you are. Indeed, the snub should be galling not only to Miss Ocasio-Cortez and Mr. Crowley's constituents in New York's 14th Congressional District, in Queens and in the Bronx, but also anyone who cares about the democratic process. He doesn't want those debates because he doesn't want you seeing him on stage looking bad again. The goal is to win, not to give you choice. There's a difference in those things. Mr. Crowley, 56, is a powerful congressman who leads the Queens County Democratic Party. Mrs. Ocasio-Cortez, 28, has presented him his first major primary challenge in years. Despite long odds, Mrs. Ocasio-Cortez, a former Bernie Sanders campaign organizer, has garnered significant support, waging a high-energy campaign and positioning herself as a grassroots alternative to Mr. Crowley. The candidates have met once in Spectrum News NY debates last week, in which both candidates held their own. No, that's putting it nicely. She beat the living stuffing out of him. She beat the stuffing out of him. I would say watch the debate. Judge for yourself. She beat the stuffing out of Crowley. Instead of attending Monday evening's debate, which was hosted by the Parkchester Times, Mr. Crowley visited a civic association meeting in Queens. Mrs. Ocasio-Cortez was left to debate Mr. Crowley's chosen surrogate, Mrs. Palmer. This has an effect from optic standpoint of making it look like she's not quite up to snuff. You're not even worth sitting here with me. I'm going to have you sitting with my surrogate, my assistant. Go handle my light work. Optically, it looks bad. Despite it optically looking bad, he thought he was going to be able to get away with it. The New York Times comes out and slams him for this. I love that. Good job, New York Times. Let's keep going. It's almost done. Instead of attending, I've got that part. Mr. Crowley constituents might well now wonder whether he intends, if re-elected, to have Mrs. Palmer make the floor speeches and cast his votes as well. Crowley aide said he had told newspaper weeks ago that there was scheduling conflicts and that he had asked to change the events. The publisher Parkchester Times said he had no idea that Mr. Crowley wouldn't attend. Mrs. Ocasio-Cortez said on Twitter after the debate that in sending Mrs. Palmer, Mr. Crowley chose a woman with slight resemblance to me as his surrogate. Both Mrs. Ocasio-Cortez and Mrs. Palmer are Latina. Crowley aides dispute that Mr. Crowley chose Mrs. Palmer because of their ethnicity. I bet they would. A campaign spokesman, Vijay Shrewdry, oh God, I'm messing that name up, I'm sorry, said Mrs. Palmer was chosen because she is a phenomenal local leader that just so happens to also look similar to the person debating. Mr. Crowley is far from the first candidate to decline to debate a challenger he is heavily favored to beat. But his longtime incumbent with a powerful role as a party leader, he should relish, not shirk, a chance to make his case to voters. He doesn't have a case to voters. He doesn't have a case. That's why he's not making the case. Mr. Crowley has decades of experience that can serve his constituents well in Congress, but his seat is not his entitlement. That I agree with. He'd better hope that the voters don't react to the snubs by sending someone else to do the job. Agreed. Agreed. So, I'm not going to keep this one long. Good job, New York Times, on nailing that one. I'm surprised they noticed, but good that they did. Correct. His strongest case is that he has connections in DC. He can make the case that, yeah, I'm experienced and I've been here for God knows how long. I'm a dinosaur in the crevices of this particular establishment. Yes. But that is different. Look, it's possible that the public itself gets tired of you and they want something else. And I understand that from the standpoint of somebody in office, this is your job and you care less about allowing somebody else to take your job, and so you try to weed off that person from doing it. The idea that he should relish it goes against this idea of him wanting to keep his job. This idea that, I mean, come on, that's insane. Why should he relish potentially losing his job? That being said, it's kind of besides the point whether he relishes it. He's there to do a service to the community itself. He is only there as an avatar of the will of the community. At least that's the reason he should be there. And if that's true, then the community itself may change their mind. Crowley needs to get into the well and make his case. And the idea that he's been running from pillar to post in order to avoid her, and to be a dick about it by sending a picture saying, here I am. I'm a few stops away, but guess where I'm not going to be? I'm not going to be there with you for you to eat my ass alive again in front of an audience. He should be punished for that. The voters should completely punish him for that. Ray Foley. Thank you, Ray Foley. Thank you, Ray. What is a swamp? Best quality experience. Best quality experience of the swamp. Yeah, I mean, that's embarrassing. I understand it from a political sense. Oh my God, she beat the stuffing out of me. How dare her put her hands on me in this way? And then it becomes, all right, you have another appointment on Monday for her to do it again. You're like, fuck that. I'll take the political consequence of not showing up to that. At the end of the day, I believe I'm going to win either way. So I would rather win, but not getting punched over and over and over again repeatedly. I don't want to spend 30 minutes telling people I'm experienced while she tells people all of the things that she's for. And I have nothing to add to my list. He's like, I'm for pot. That's great. That was before Jordan got exposed as a creepy perv. Jordan was not a pervert. Come on. Exactly. Cortez annihilated him, and Cortez should not have debated the surrogate. Yeah, fuck that. No, she should never have done that. If you were in Prime Minister questions and the surrogate of the Prime Minister got up, do you honestly believe that Jeremy Corbyn would ever debate the surrogate? Hell no. It makes you seem like you're not up to snuff to debate the actual person, and that's not the case. You're not only his equal, you are his superior in this point. You don't lower yourself to the surrogate. If he doesn't want to bring that debate, you shame him over again. You go out to his place where he is and you stand outside and you yell at him. You put loudspeakers up, trailing him around the city as he goes around calling him a coward. But you don't debate the surrogate. Yeah, Crowley's a coward. She wiped the floor with him. He stuttered his way out of the door. Yeah. And keep in mind, he hasn't had a real challenge in years. Yeah, he has a real challenge in years. Cal just did a show saying Crowley berated Roe on the floor of Congress because of the dual endorsement. No way! I have to find that. Where's my ink pen? This is why I always keep my ink pen. You guys always think I just hold my ink pen because I have too much residual energy or something, or frenetic energy. I keep it for moments like this. Roe berated on the floor of Congress. Look, this is the truth of the matter. The reason that Crowley asked for Roe's endorsement, and why are you getting his endorsement anyway? He's in California, you're in New York. Why don't you get somebody who's in New York that knows you to give you an endorsement that's a lefty? He wants to be able to say, hey, look, Roe's a lefty. He's a lefty. I'm a lefty too. Rub myself in some Roe. Oh, rub myself in some Roe. I'm a progressive too. Look at me. I have Roe all over me. I'm covered in Roe. That's the reason that he wanted Roe's endorsement. He wanted to beef up his bona fides from the left. That's the only reason. Now, what does the dual endorsement do from that standpoint? It makes it seem more political, so it kind of cuts the legs out of it. But if we're being honest, she was a more accurate endorsement. Roe endorsed him because Roe was friends with him. And you may say there were problems with him just endorsing somebody because, you know, you've interacted with them on the bill. That's true. But I want to see that. I definitely want to see that. Roe wasn't paying attention. That's his excuse for, that's his excuse. I didn't think I live in California. He asked me for an endorsement. I said yes. We worked together on marijuana legislation. I didn't think it was going to be a deal. And then people are like, what the fuck? And at that point, he's like, oh, you guys are upset by this. I need to backtrack. And I need to give a dual endorsement because I can't pull my endorsement from Crowley. And make it a point of saying, I will know next time to not just give away my endorsements. So, yeah. Cal wasn't taking it easy on Roe. He shouldn't have. I didn't either. I flipped out. I even felt bad afterwards. I went to my wife. I was like, was that too much? Like, was that over the top? It's like calling a guy a rat, saying, you know, this is treasonous. Yeah. I don't watch Kyle anymore. Not since his "I am right, you're wrong" rant. Yeah. That was a year ago. Yeah, that was rough. I am right, you are wrong. I am right, you are wrong. Get the fuck out of the way. Yeah, Cal was unhinged on that. He was completely... I've never seen him that unhinged. Rokan has been unmasked as an agent of Hillary. He has not been unmasked as anything. He's been unmasked as a person who's in a political system that has certain incentives that drive people's behavior. And in driving those people's behavior, he is a lefty who's trying to stay with lefty stuff that is being influenced by the people who are paying him to some degree, but also by political wins, in addition to the things that he himself wants to push. Meaning, how do you remain a lefty when you have a tech side that is pushing you into certain things like a jobs program? But essentially, I think this is a ploy to give money to the tech sector. And political actors who want you to give them some kind of credibility on the left, meaning you have to interact with the people that are around you while at the same token trying to hold your shape for other stuff. He's just a person. I don't think he's unmasked as anything other than that. That makes sense. Pat Hacker Jamal still likes Roe. I've never hated Roe. My issue with Roe is my issue with the politics in the Democratic Party, and you can make a case politics in general. He's a political actor. Meaning, in his mind, he has to get along. He has to go along to get along to some degree. Meaning, just like the Elizabeth Warren thing is a fair weather friend. It's no way to fully trust that the person is going to be and hold their shape. Because he himself is a political actor. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that the policies that he pushes for won't be lefty stuff. They will be. It will be. But, what does that mean for other stuff? I got to be honest. Look, I this is what I appreciate, and so let me put it in terms. When it was understood that he had ran afoul of a large group of people who were supposedly people who either supported him or at the very least would lean in the direction that he's in, he responded. I want to be an asshole. Part of me, as I feel it, want to be an asshole just because he's a Democrat and I don't particularly like people with the D beside their name. But if I'm being fair, I like the fact he was responsive. So yeah, I don't hate Roe. I don't think I've ever hated Roe. Rokanda didn't show up for Tim's show. He was the door, right? It speaks volumes. I don't know what that speaks. That doesn't speak anything. I don't know what that speaks. He showed up on Door, so that speaks volumes. Did you see that interview with Door? Look, the first part of the interview, Rokana was this is what I would give you. I would give you this. Dor likes Rokana. First point. In the same way as if you were watching somebody who was on, let's say, a talk show, who likes the person who they're talking to, that's going through some kind of political firestorm, he is trying to rehabilitate Ro because he knows Ro pissed off a lot of people. A lot of people who vote for Ro. That's the second point. The second part of that interview, though, was a tonal shift. Dor, if you remember in that interview, went after Ro from being a Democrat. Like, you may say he went on Dor, and that's indicative of something, but I don't know what that's indicative of. I think you're trying to make the point that Dor took it easy on him, but I don't necessarily think Dor took it easy on him. If Rokana was on my show, what would I ask him? I would probably ask him similar questions as to what Dor asked him. It's not because I have this fondness for Rokana per se. I like him, fair enough. But I have an incentive to ask certain things that my audience wants to know. In which case, some of those questions would have been somewhat pointed in the way that they were being asked. But you would have been asked for the most part the same thing. I don't necessarily know what's indicative of. He wasn't very responsive with Tim Black last night. He stood Tim up last night. Oh, I see. Tim had a program all set up for him. He didn't even bother to call. Oh, I see. How do you know? I mean, no, he was scheduled to be on Tim's show and he never showed up. I see. Is that true? I mean, you know what I mean. Is that verified? How do you verify that? I mean, I understand Tim would say he was scheduled to be on the show. What did Rokana say? Did you get Rokana's side of this? Don't count on him showing up. I never asked him. Ro is an appeaser who likes to play the show game. That, yes. But this is kind of my point. If you ask me if I like Ro, yes. But my issue with Ro is somewhat my issue with Elizabeth Warren. And the incentives of the system itself. You have a bunch of people that you need to interact with and you need to work with if you want to get anything done. Meaning you are socialized to the people who you're around. Ideally, those people would be responsive to the people in their constituency, which kind of creates a counterforce, but that's not always true. I trust Ro to put certain policies that I think he believes in. I also trust him to go along to get along with his group. That's the best I can do. Ro knows that Tim Black sees through his flimsy progressive disguise. Balthazar, Liat shoes are the best shoes. Lol. I have no idea what that means. I think as progressive, we need to give another chance, but just one. He does fight for a good fight. Sherry Specter, yes. Yes, that's my point. I don't know the Tim Black stuff, so I can't say yes or no. I don't know Ro's side of it, and I haven't heard Tim Black say it. To be fair, I haven't heard Tim Black say anything because I haven't heard his show in a while. But it's possible. Going by what I heard on Dor, I don't think it's a flimsy disguise, if that makes sense. I think, look, there are going to be, even if you got what you want from the standpoint of Congress, say for instance, something happens tomorrow and the Green Party members, all of them, end up in Congress, you're still going to need Democrats to work with. They will be, I always say, vote for the person who represents your interests. Now, if this person is pushing lefty policies and everything else, my only issue, my only reason for going after Rokana in this wasn't his policies. It had everything to do with the people who he was associating with and endorsing, because I thought that endorsement allows you to add credibility to somebody who should not give credibility. That is different than a criticism on policy. On policy, I like him. On policy, I like him. It's like, come on. Don't trust any politicians. You're missing what I'm saying. I trust my dog to bark. I just do. I trust my dog to lick me when I walk by. It's aggravating. It's annoying. But I know Pitsu is going to do it. It's just the way he is. I trust Bo, my other dog, to go ballistic if he sees food. It's what I trust him to do. I trust Democrats to be obsequious to cash. It's what I trust them to do. You can trust people providing that you're trusting them to do something that's somewhat inherent to the way that they operate. That's what I'm saying. I trust him to somewhat be the way I expect him to operate, if that makes sense. It's not a trusting in what a person says. It's more so trusting in what that person needs, A, to get elected, who's funding the person, that's the other point, and who the person is responsive to. So, if you're asking trust, yeah, it's not trust as an absolute. Yeah, it's not trust as an absolute. Whatever you want to say about O'Connor, whatever you want to think about him, he was responsive. I give you this. Do you remember Clawback? Clawback comes out and says, I called Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and told them shut up about class. Now, the people who were in the room, the people that he called were Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. O'Connor went on, was talking to Laura Steiner. He was talking to Dore. He was talking to people on Twitter like nobody's business. I know you said he had a conversation with Tim Black. I don't know that to be true as a flat fact. It's possible. I don't know his side of it. For all I know, he might have got the date wrong. I have done that. Actually, I've never gotten the date wrong on an interview. I've gotten the date wrong where I thought somebody was supposed to be there on a different day. So I thought one person was supposed to be on Wednesday, and to come to find out they were supposed to be on Thursday. I don't know what took place with the Tim Black thing. It would be weird if he just stood him up and didn't say anything about it. But whatever, I don't know what took place. The responsiveness matters. It matters. It really does. Tim dissed you too. Yeah, Tim did put a knife at me. He went after me. Well, Peter struck Rattle and Hillary. Uh-oh. Tim parted ways with H.A. like he did with Jamal. Doesn't make one right or wrong. Oh, yeah. He didn't like me calling his response, his defense of Susan Sarandon, tepid. It was tepid. I thought it was a tepid response. He didn't like the word. He didn't like the word choice. He didn't like the word choice. He is responsive. Ro is also very intelligent and has an active mind. I have no issue with him as a person, and he is engaging. All of this is irrelevant as how useful he is as a populist. Yeah, we agree. We totally agree. We totally agree. Crowley has something to hide. What it is, no, Crowley has all the political incentives in the world to not have that debate if he believes he can win without it. If he believes he can win without it. This has nothing to do with integrity. It's nothing to do with what's right. It has to do with whether or not he can win and the bare bones minimum he needs to win. She wants to make all the hay out of this in the world because she needs to make all the hay out of this in the world. This coward, do you want this coward representing your thing? He got his ass handed to him and now he doesn't want to debate me again. Yeah, and the New York Times piling on is even better. I love this. I want him out of his seat. I want her to take him out of his seat. That would be a magnificent win. So, good luck, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. It's a power grab. I've been working on my Scottish accent for Galloway. It's a power grab. HA is using Trump to get subscribers, taking a page from Alex Jones. How do you go from Bernie to Trump supporter? What? X Factor? I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to say anything else about that one. Because Siler, he's like, that's retarded. No, that's not retarded. I am Siler. That is, come on. You got, he hates when I say this. Be honest. Be honest. You can't, let me say it this way. You can't say it's impossible. He's a Bernie supporter. Why is he supporting Trump? Just saying. HA talks about his guns at every opening. He's clickbait. Your promotion of progressive voice has been tepid lately. You mentioned him on Fault Line. I didn't mention progressive voice on Fault Lines. When is George of the Jungle coming on? George is awesome, man. I sent him a email. I have binge watch a ridiculous amount of Galloway. Love the guy. Absolutely love the guy. I don't know when he's coming on. He said he's willing to come on. He said, sure, brother, I'll come on. I always love that reverse racism in regards to the way people engage when they're outside of the country. Nobody says, honestly, the only person who ever said, only people who said brother are white folks. Just being honest. I'm just being honest. Blacks don't regard each other that way. Like, blacks don't say that to each other. Like, they may have said that back in the 50s. Like, what's happening, brother? Like a Marvin Gaye type thing. But the only people I've ever seen use that are whites. And I've only seen him use that towards blacks. Now, he's Scottish. And so, you know, sometimes this stuff floats across the pond. He was like, what happening, brother? It's like, what's happening, George? I don't care. You could be that way. And I'm joking when I'm using it from racist. I'm not using it in real terms. I'm using that purely as a slight punchline in this case. The brother thing is true, by the way. That's not something blacks do. That's something the whites do. It's fucking hilarious. I do want to talk to Jamal about the secret space program and the percentage of Democrats that are racist. Why? Why aren't you concerned with the percentage of Republicans that are racist? It's a fucking lot of them. Donald Trump is literally taking babies away from their mamas. Literally. This is not hyperbole. The guy who said, I think Mexicans are rapists and drug dealers, is taking Mexican babies away from screaming mothers, ripping them away as they're reaching out for their kids, and the baby is crying and reaching out back. That's what's taking place. The racist guy is breaking up families in this way. Families that are coming here for help and support. And your conversation is, I want to talk about racism in the Democratic Party. Yeah, I think your conversation is somewhat misplaced. That's what I would say. So, I am going to end this here. Let's be honest, Tim was overtly sensitive to the word tepid. That's an understatement. That's a fucking understatement. That's a magnificent understatement. I suspect the sensitivity he had came from because I was right. That's what I suspect. Galloway is a Scott. Yeah, I know. That's different from the name. I know. Pat, I know it's not the same. I know the racial dynamics are different. I'm just using the brother thing. I think it's funny. But no, I know the racial dynamics in the UK are different. Scots, Irish, Brits. The way the Brits and the Irish interacted. You know, that being said, though, there's an interesting commonality between the way Irish and the Brits and blacks and whites. And it's fucking fascinating. And when you talk to someone who's Irish and they talk about it, oftentimes it can be put in language similar to African Americans. It's fucking fascinating. No, they're not the same. You know, they weren't in slavery and bondage and all this other stuff. But their resistance and the struggle in this sense, it was similar. They felt the same, or they felt in similar ways. This thing of being put down and looked down and being taken advantage of, all this stuff is fascinating. It's fascinating. How many of those kids are actually being trafficked? Did you go to 800K kids go missing every year in the United States? I don't know how many are trafficked. But, let me say this. Of all the problems that we have, think of a cornucopia of them, a list of them. And of those problems, there are going to be some that we don't control. I don't control gravity. I don't control the space-time reality. I don't control the weather. There's a lot of stuff I don't necessarily have control over. If we get hit by an asteroid, I don't control that. There's a bunch of stuff I don't control. That's out of my power. That's out of the power of humanity in general. But of the things that we do control, that are man-made issues, man-made problems that we ourselves cause, can we start to some degree with those? Meaning, can we not punch ourselves in the face? Can we say, let's not make things worse when we don't have to? And one of the things that is making things worse is ripping babies from their mamas and putting them in concentration camps and putting those kids in internment camps. I agree with you that the for-profit baby jails started with Obama, But let's also be honest that Trump expanded this to a momentous degree, to a degree that is startling, and that I don't know anybody in their right mind who would defend this. Come on. Is it possible to say, I think there's some elements of Democrats that are racist, but what Donald Trump is doing here is ghastly and horrible and utterly repugnant and should not be supported? You can do both. You can do both. Yeah, other classics, homie. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just making a point. Those words are really only used when you're talking to blacks. That's all. It's always funny to me. I met a gentleman at the Left Forum. And at the Left Forum, there was, everyone saying hi. He says, "Hey, brother, how's it going?" And it's like, it seems so strange to say that. Why are you saying that? You can't just say hi. You don't do this to anybody else. There's nobody else. You say that. Like, there is no situation where I imagine him walking up to some white guy, Bob, saying, "What's happening, brother? Is everything going all right?" He would just say, "Hey, Bob, how's it going?" Or, "Hello, how's it going?" Or, "Hey, what's your name?" I can think of 1,000 things that you would say as an introduction. Brother would never come up. It's fucking hilarious to me. That's absolutely hilarious. I voted for Obama twice. Yep. What are the chances there will be a case of sexual and physical abuse in these child and baby prisons? I say it hovers around 100%. Yes. 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 Absolutely yes. You've put people in a prison cell where they have no power. Not just no power, less than no power. Because they've come into this country and you've said you've broken the law by fleeing sex, abuse, terror, killings, criminality, and you put them in a prison camp. The guards who have absolute power in this prison camp, you don't believe that there's going to be bad things that take place in the shadows of those camps? I agree with you, Garden. I put that at like 100%. Jamal is going to start crying on air like Maddow. I am Siler. I watched that and I said, this shit is ridiculous. Call me a hard man, call me an asshole. I thought it was utterly ridiculous. These emotional displays on television are obscene. Maddow, where was all of this crying when they were selling slaves in Libya? Would you like me to squeeze out a tear at the Africans that are being sold in Libya based on Hillary's policies? What about the chaos in Honduras? What about the chaos that takes place in Syria based on the weapons? Like, I guess it's false outrage. It's phony outrage. Rachel, take it, Lawrence. Take it. I can't. I have a tear. There's a tear. Did you guys catch my tear? It's like, come on. I don't believe that at all. I am not the person to have these breakdowns with. I'm bad at this. I don't process that well. I process stuff in the sense of getting angry, not necessarily in the sense of getting wet. This is nonsense. I know Democrats look at this and believe this. I don't. I am not on her wavelength. I look at this and think, this is absurd. I mean, come on. This is absurd. Balthazar, in before ICE has detained and abusing kids since 2003. Amazing job for a pedophile. Amazing job for a pedophile. Absolute power and control. And you can take children away from their mamas. Hashtag make America great again. Make America great again. Maddow thinks it will be good for TV. I think that's what it is too. The African slave market shit started way before Libya. It might have started before Libya, but they started selling Africans in Libya after the destruction of that country. So, love me Scotties. One for the parliament. Feckin' Palawa Bawa bags. What? Palawa Bawa bags. I've been working on my Scottish accents. It's a power grab. Great Scots. It's the R. The R gets rolled when they use the terms. I've been working on it. It's not perfect, but I've been trying. It's a power grab. I've been using the Scottish National Party when he, stormed out of the parliament, and he's like, "This is a power grab, power grab." I loved it. It's awesome. This is absolutely awesome. If it bothers her so much, $30,000 a day goes a long way towards enforcing your will and alleviating suffering. Yes, $30,000 a day does. Then having an officer being a pedophile with a 4-year-old girl, Apple's S. It would be a great career to go into if you're a pedophile, right? Yes, it would be. I'm losing the plot today. See you soon, Black Power. Anthony Bedessa. I can't do it, Captain. I don't have the power. I can't do it, Captain. Shirley Vick. Trump is a symptom of the problem that has been going on in Washington. That is also true. That is also true. Black Power. My videos, I start off with a thread, and at some point afterwards, it's just the audience participation. The first part of the video is like maybe 10-15 minutes. The second part of the video is just the audience having their say. They bring up pretty much anything. They can say whatever they want. So I'll see you later if you need to. Badger Damon. I live in Scottish colony. I take offense to that. Take offense to what? The power grab thing? I haven't said anything bad. What are you talking about? Bleeding Heart Graham. Think of the children. Think of the children. Slim J. Wondering why was the media quiet when the Obama administration was taking kids from their parents? Oh, they didn't care at that point. They didn't care. Black Power. Thanks. I wasn't being an asshole. I was just. Sometimes when people come to the show, they're bewildered. Like, what the hell is going on and what are you guys talking about? It's not. After the first section of the show is unstructured. It's not a hard fixed show. It becomes kind of unorganized. Yeah, Jamal, your Scottish accent needs a shitload of work. Fair enough. I'm working on it. I haven't rolled my R's well enough. I was just jostling you. No offense taken. Okay, good. You never know, man. You never know. Some people will be like, I take offense that you're using the Scottish accent in this way. I'm working on it. I'm trying it. I read that Joe Crowley enriched his brother in Congress. Wouldn't be shocked. Tomorrow the House votes on separating immigrant kids from their parents. What if the Republicans finally legislate a solution? That's the wild part. So because of the pressure that's been put on this, there are 2 bills that are going through Congress right now from the Republican Party. I got to be honest. Do you really want the Republican Party being the party that makes the decision on this? But by the same token, do you really want babies being separated from their mamas in the way that Donald Trump is doing this? Just saying. I'm always bewildered. Jim Carrison. What do you think Ocasio's chances are against Crowley? I'm hoping the populace chooses correctly with Ocasio, but the money is unfortunately power. She says she's getting beat by 10-1 in the standpoint of spending. The money is with Cortez. And I read the other day that he was going to Republican donors in order to beef up his war chest. She is being swamped with cash. I haven't seen the polls in New York, so I don't necessarily know. I don't know the splash she's making. My perception of the splash is different because I'm on the left and I see the most of it, the most impact. But higher up, where they're not necessarily fully paying and immersed in this kind of lefty politics, I don't know what that effect is, and so I don't necessarily know how other people are seeing this race. What I would say is she beat the stuffing out of him in that debate, and he had good enough sense not to come to another one, and you have to look at it the other way. He didn't believe he needed to come to that second debate. Either he thought he was going to lose that debate extremely bad, in which case him taking a hit for not going to the debate was less traumatic than him actually going to the debate and taking a beating, or he just didn't care. He's like, I'm going to win this regardless. I don't care. I don't know which one it is. And I haven't seen polls on it. So, Graham, think about the children. The ones in the cages. No, the ones in the womb. In before we find ICE doing this since 2003, and Matt L blames Russia. We're holding babies in cages, and it's Donald Trump's and Russia's fault. Please ask John Ackerman on the show. The Mexico's election is July 1st. AMLO might win lefty. I'll try, Tabitha. John Ackerman. Ackerman. I'll check him out tonight. If you have the email address, please let me know. Sometimes I can't find the people's email address. It's funny. Somebody said, dude, get George Galloway on the show. And I'm like, how would I ever get George Galloway on the show? The man has been in Parliament. The man has been all over the world. He was helping with apartheid. The man has done all over the place. He's a colorful guy. He's awesome. And they're like, no, send him a message. He will respond. He responded in like an hour. So I would definitely try to hit him up. Would you rather have sex with Cortez or Crowley? Oh, I'm not answering that question, but I think you already know the answer. Seeing as I am not a gay man, that answer becomes almost fixed. Justin Trudeau set those tariffs high for the metals on those cages. Oh, you're trying to say Trudeau is trying to get a profit out of their cages that Donald Trump is using to keep kids? That's messed up. George is unemployed today. He's on Sputnik. That's not unemployed. If he's working at Sputnik, he's working. Oh, George is unemployed. Get out of here. Come on. That's hilarious. Brian McDonald's is definitely Crowley. Galloway is your biggest scorer yet, in my opinion. He is amazing. I mean, now we have to nail down the times. He haven't hit me back yet on the times. But Galloway is fucking amazing. He's absolutely amazing. Don't get me wrong. I love all of the people that I've been able to get on my show. Even people I disagreed with. But George has a way of arguing and a way of rhetoric that is unparalleled to me, at least in modern times. He gets across frustration in one of the most honest ways that I've ever heard anybody get across frustration. When my dog gets up, he growls. He's like, "Arr!" And I'm not comparing him to a dog, but it's this honest thing of, I'm annoyed by this. You're annoying me, sir. And he just tells a person and berates the person at the point when they start annoying him. It is the weirdest and oddest and funniest thing I've ever seen for somebody running a radio show. But will go after his audience full tilt. It is hilarious. It is absolutely hilarious. Let's hope he doesn't pull a Connor on you. Oh God, let's hope not. Oh, Pat, I see what you're doing there, Pat. I see what you're doing there. Look, I'm going to check that out, Pat. I'm going to check that out. Because I want to know about that one myself. That doesn't sound like real Connor. I'm saying that like I know him. I don't know him. But that would... Look, it's one thing if we make plans. It's one thing if I just don't show up. And the question is, did he just get the date wrong? Or did he just blow him off? I usually have a harder time believing people just blow other people off. But I could be wrong. I'll check it out though, Pat. I will check it out. Gorgeous George, right? Yeah. I think he knows they couldn't handle Gorgeous George on the BBC. He's been on the BBC a lot though. I mean, many of the clips that I've watched was him on the BBC tearing into the host. He told one woman, what a preposterous way to start an interview. I love that. Do you know what it's like the moment if you're starting an interview telling the host who's introduced you what a preposterous way to start an interview, you know some shit is going to go down. Love the guy. All right, I'm going to end this here because I don't want to spend the next 10 minutes talking about how awesome George Galloway is. But I'm going to take a break and I will see you guys shortly. Thank you guys for showing up. I'm probably going to cut this video just so I can break up the video. Thank you guys for showing up. I'll see you guys shortly. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. But of course, you can always support through Patreon. Let me make sure I didn't miss anyone. Graham, think about the children, the ones in the cages. No, the ones in the womb. And before we find ICE doing this since 2003, and Matt Out blames Russia. That one trips me out because it's the Maddow blames Russia part that makes it work. All right, guys, you have a good one. I will see you shortly. Thanks, everyone.